So EA has done the one thing that I didn't expect them to do, and that's acknowledge Battlefield 2042's failure. I have all the details on a town hall meeting that was held with key executives at EA. We're going to go through it all here. Like the video and subscribe for everything Battlefield 2042. So this is, of course, coming from Tom Henderson, who is seemingly doing a better job at being a community manager than anybody else at EA DICE. He put a post out on xfire.com discussing this internal town hall meeting that took place on February 15th. He says one of the biggest takeaways from the call held today was the huge focus on 2042. EA execs spent over 20 minutes discussing what went wrong with the launch and also how the company sees the future of both Battlefield 2042 and the overarching franchise moving forward. So Laura Meal, EA's chief studios officer, led the discussion on 2042 by acknowledging EA's wider successes, both past and present, but said that it's really important to acknowledge when we have misses. This is certainly the case with the Battlefield launch, which failed to meet the expectations of our players and also clearly missed our own expectations. She went on to outline several key factors that EA's top brass believe caused the disappointing launch. One factor being the Frostbite engine, and due to its old tech, the massive update it went through in order to power 2042. From Tom's own reports, this alone took over 18 months of development time, and Meal addressed the engine upgrade by saying all new tech, it was basically a new engine. They went back, the Frostbite version they were on was so old, they had to go back and update, so it was basically putting the game on a new engine. Another major reason, according to the EA's top brass, is of course the working from home environment that many in the industry are currently faced with. On this, Meal said, add up all of this new innovation, all of this ambition for a new project, and then you add a global pandemic halfway into the project where the game teams had to work from home. We ended up with more new variables in development than we have ever experienced before. And while I understand that this is unprecedented times, I personally also don't believe that those unprecedented times led to design decisions such as specialist removal of classes, the map design being so absolutely barren, open, large, piss poor, the idea of going to 128 players. None of those things have anything to do with the pandemic and working from home. Those are just bullshit ass decisions that the developers made. But according to Meal, after the Battlefield beta happened last summer, EA received a lot of feedback concerning bugs and unpolished areas of the experience. However, there was also a substantial amount of positive feedback from players. Players saying this feels like Battlefield. Battlefield is back. This is my Battlefield. So we had to embolden the team, it was said. If you remember the beta that took place last summer, it led to so many pre-order cancellations. Anybody who was sitting there saying that this is Battlefield, this is the return of old, is lying to themselves. There were Battlefield moments. You had the explosions, the cars flying over your head. Like, you can get those only in Battlefield moments within this game, but it is not a Battlefield title in the general sense. It was then revealed that Battlefield's 2042 bug count ratio got to historic levels for a DICE game. And they actually did mock reviews. The mock reviews prior to launch were in the high 70s to low 80s. Whatever company or organization that is doing your mock reviews, let go. They are fucking useless and obviously miss the mark on what gamers actually think about 2042. Following the game's launch, DICE rolled out its Day 1 and Day 0 patches to get the bug count down further. Does anybody see a problem with this? You knew that the levels going into launch, the levels of bugs were astronomical, historic levels, and you launched anyway. But she goes on to say that the launch patches meant the game was stable and the early critical reception was good. I don't know who they're talking to. I really have no fucking idea because the game dropped almost instantly. However, according to EA, things took a turn, and that turn was the surprise release of Halo Infinite multiplayer. According to Meal, the comparison between both games was not favorable because Halo Infinite was a very polished title, whereas Battlefield 2042 contained bugs and wasn't as polished. This is a bullshit cop-out, but let's just for a moment let's take both games and compare the development of both of those games. Do you guys remember when Halo Infinite first put out their trailer and people were questioning why the game looked so old and dated, and they weren't really happy? It wasn't favorable. Halo Infinite delayed itself by a year to get everything up and up, and then it came out and it was a critical success. Battlefield 2042 didn't. If you really want to compare the two, maybe look at how your studios and your executives actually handle negative feedback towards beloved franchises that you have put more than 20 years of effort to maintain and build upon. If you really want to compare why one title was successful and one wasn't, there you fucking go. The game's poor Steam reviews were put down to PC players having a performance cap, guys, which players on Steam found upsetting. In addition, negative player feedback overall was focused on 3 key areas, which EA would further elaborate on in this call: bugs in performance, game design and feature choices, and the game not aligning with player expectations. She proceeded to explain what the company has since learned in those 3 areas and what actions will be taken to improve upon them. In terms of bugs and performance, they acknowledged that company has historically had bug issues with DICE games at launch, and that the bug count for 2042 did fall into the range that they would have expected when compared to other launches. So it was, of course, believed that the issues would be manageable, with Meal reiterating Andrew Wilson's comments from EA's latest quarterly earnings call, saying that DICE historically is very good at adapting games in a live service, connecting with players, connecting with the community, and getting the game to the place that the players expect. So realistically, EA just admitted that they know that DICE games are buggy at launch. So my response to this statement is fuck EA DICE. If anybody goes out and gets hyped over the next EA DICE game, whether it be a fucking Star Wars shooter or a new Battlefield or whatever the case is, just know that internally, all of these companies that are involved understand that these games are going to be buggy at launch, and they're fine with putting the games out and fixing them with patches after the fact. Fuck off. Meal then acknowledged that player expectations have changed when it comes to live service games, and that it wasn't the right choice to remain anchored to the company's standards in comparison to previous DICE games. How crazy is it that player expectations have changed where we want a functioning product at launch when we're spending $100 on it? Who would have thought? Wow, how fucking disconnected are these studio execs? Moving forward, they're going to turn to the design and feature choices that didn't resonate with players. The lack of a scoreboard and VoIP, as well as the specialist system, were mentioned for a brief moment, and we already know that improvements and additions in these areas will be coming in future months outside of the specialist system. Player testing was also referred to, and how the game did not align to player expectation. Clearly, Meal says, we didn't go wide enough with different player segments, and we certainly didn't go deep enough with the game, so we did not bring players along with us, which is a big miss for the development cycle and process of this game. Now, we had a couple other people jump in: Byron Bede, Rebecca Kutez, and Christian Grass. They all gave their own thoughts on 2042. Tom says, most of these details have been publicly mentioned already, including a revision of the specialist system. Kutez did acknowledge how important it is to have player feedback, and that the new initiative in this regard will kick off later this month by discussing map design and the way we want to improve the player space. It's not clear if this will involve wider public feedback or just from select individuals. Tom Henderson left a little personal note here. He says, overall, to me, it seemed that EA was either still grasping as to why Battlefield 2042 failed, or they just didn't want to share those details with the team. Tom goes on to say, I've said it time and time again, all of the issues that players have with 2042 were not only brought up during Battlefield 2042's beta, but during the playtests that leaked online. Over 3 months after launch, none of those issues have been addressed, which could still indicate problems with the new and improved Frostbite engine. Nonetheless, 2042 seems to be in good hands moving forward, he says. Byron Bede, Rebecca Kutez, and Christian Grass, Marcus Lado, and Vince Zampella are strong leaders, but actions speak louder than words, and a lot is riding on 2042's Season 1. I'm going to be completely honest with you and say that Season 1 is irrelevant to the future of 2042 because there is no future. It's over. The player numbers, at least on Steam, are under 3,000 in the last 24 hours. And if we have to wait until the summer to get Season 1, nobody is going to be left playing it. The ones that are left playing it are the ones that are going to grind through and absolutely demolish everything and then have nothing else to play for and move on. And now DICE is on an uphill battle by trying to get the messaging across. By the time Season 1 comes out, they need to now bring people back. It's not about keeping people engaged at this point. It's about bringing players back. And if you know anything about gamers today, is very rarely do they go back to a game that A, sucks shit, and B, burned them out of $100. They're just going to move on for the most part. Unless there's some sort of like drastic change where it goes free to play and you drop just an absolute metric fuck ton of content, which just isn't going to happen. Now, my thoughts on this are very simple, and most of you guys probably already know it. The studio execs at EA have absolutely no fucking clue just how bad some of those design choices affected players' reception of 2042. They might chalk it up to the fact that players just didn't like the specialist system. We fucking despised it because it changed absolutely everything about the core gameplay loop that we all grew up and loved playing with Battlefield. As much as some of your fucking shill EA creators are out there defending the specialist system, they don't represent the majority at all. And if the studio execs just don't understand that, then I guess we just need to make them understand. Don't purchase a DICE game moving forward unless they absolutely prove to you that they know what the fuck they're doing. If a new Battlefield comes out in 2023, like what's being rumored, probably 2024 at this point, don't buy it. Don't fucking pre-order it. Don't dive into the hype because you know that they're just trying to get back into the good graces of their shareholders. They don't care about you as a person. They don't care about the community. And it's obvious by the design choices that they made with this game that they just don't give a shit. And you know what? It's their choice not to give a shit. It's my choice to voice my concerns and tell people not to purchase titles from DICE when this is the mentality that goes on behind closed doors. Tom Henderson's last statement on this post, saying actions speak louder than words, is everything when it comes to this industry. We have been burned so many times over the past, I would say 6 or 7 years, that it's starting to become sickening. And a lot of those burns have come from EA. Medal of Honor, the VR game, trash. Anthem came out, people bought it, they dipped instantly, trash. Battlefield 2042, trash. The statement, I believe from Andrew Wilson when Battlefield 5 came out and people weren't liking the direction, and it was the don't like it, don't buy it. Let's start taking those words to heart. My name is BigFry. If you guys like the video, please leave a like on it. Subscribe for everything Battlefield 2042, everything industry, AAA, FPS, multiplayer. We're covering it all. And if you like the channel and you want to support, hit that join button down below and become part of this ever-growing community of people who are just done taking shit. Have a great day, guys. Stay safe. And I'll see you on the next one.